What is going on, guys? It's your boy CJR Sports, and today we'll be going over another news video and kind of the stuff that's happened over yesterday and today in the NFL. So first things first, hope everyone had a great 4th of July. I'm recording this on the 5th of July. So some of this news that you may have already heard and or saw on either Twitter or another video. That's the 4th of July. I did not want to post. So you cannot do a breaking news or a daily news video, so I want to give myself a day with my family and everything like that to really enjoy with them on the 4th of July. So as you see on the main screen, we have the Seattle Seahawks. So the biggest story that I want to talk about is the Seahawks came out today and they said that they haven't had much strong interest in quarterback Baker Mayfield. And for me, that's a real eye-opener. I mean, I think if you asked anyone the moment when Deshaun Watson got traded to Cleveland, is that, the clear-cut, two teams that really need a quarterback now were A, Seattle, or B, the Panthers. The moment when Seattle kind of got trade away Russ, we knew that they would probably be in the market, A, for a free agent, B, a trade, or C, the draft. And, I mean, they traded for Drew Lock, no one really thinking that he was going to be the future. So it's definitely a little bit definitely a little odd for sure that Seattle is all in on Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Right now, Geno Smith looks like it's winning the week one starter role out of minicamp and OTAs. So it's definitely a little interesting what's going on in Seattle, and they have receivers and weapons to win now. But giving away Bobby White, so they're in this weird rebuilding kind of stage, but not trying to give away their players, but they're also not paying DK. They're paying Tyler Lockett big money. So I mean, they're in a really weird stage of their if you want to say rebuild, of really big weird stage of their team, because they don't really have a quarterback. They have one of the best receiver duos in the National Football League, and they have a really good backfield. I mean, say what you want about Chris Carson. If he comes back from injury, he's going to be great. Rashad Penny, I mean, all he needs is to be able to stay healthy, and he's a half decent running back. And they drafted Kenneth Walker, so I mean, they're definitely going to be able to run the football. That's not going to be a question mark for them. Their defense is always pretty solid, but they trade away some first round picks for Jamal Adams, so they were always in that win first now mentality. Cutting Bobby Wagner, extending Diggs. I think he's like a 29-year-old free safety. I'm not I think the players past their 28, 29, past their, if you want to say, prime, I think that's over with. I think you're seeing players start playing in their low to mid 30s, and they're still playing at a high level. JJ Watt's one player that really sticks to mind. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, kind of now coming into that range that's a non-quarterback. So I mean, you're seeing those players. I'm not saying Diggs can't, but I think he got like a 3 or 4 year extension at like a 29-year-old free safety. So you're expecting him to be able to stay at this high, this high level free safety when he's 34. Which I don't know how true and real that's going to be. So they seem like they're in this weird stage of their team building for sure. So I'm curious to see. And them coming out publicly saying that they're not interested in Baker Mayfield. I think Baker could. I'm not saying Baker is going to get them to the playoffs, but personally, I'd rather probably have Baker over Drew Lock and Geno Smith. So I mean, he'll be the best option. And if Cleveland's came out and said that they're willing to pay for some of the salary for a starting quarterback in the National Football League, so if Seattle can only pay half of it, you round up and you just want to say $9-10 million for a starting quarterback in the National Football League that you don't have to keep for the future. He can be a stopgap 1 year and see what you have in him. And if he brings you to the playoffs, maybe you considered extending him. but have the option and you already cut that out. It's definitely very interesting to me. What Seattle is really looking for, coming in this weird part of their non-Russell Wilson and non-Bobby Wagner team right now. But kind of get off of Seattle. Some of the news that's recently came out, I'm a Giants fan. I hate talking about Dallas, but we have to in this one. Some of the Dallas offensive weapons, went down to Miami to get some extra work. The tight ends, Dalton Schultz and Sean McKean. Receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert, rookie Jalen Tolbert. Running back, Zeke, and then, of course, quarterback, Dak Prescott. Two players to note that weren't there is Tony Pollard, who isn't injured, but Michael Gallup is still rehabbing through his ACL tear, so I wouldn't really expect him to be down there. But no, Tony Pollard for sure is definitely a little interesting. That it seems like Tony Pollard could even take Zeke's job. I know Zeke is getting paid a ridiculous amount, so almost, I think it's $20 a year or something like that. A ridiculous amount for a running back. And it looks like Tony Pollard could be even taking his job. So it's very interesting, and maybe some little animosity. We don't know what's going on in that Dallas locker room. But they're in Miami getting some extra work in, and they're gonna need it. I mean, I think the Giants should, win 6, 7, 8 games this year. It seems like Philly's going to be the top of division. Washington's going to win like 3 or 4 games, in my opinion. And then Dallas is going to be somewhere between New York and Philly, somewhere in that second, first to third. There's definitely a big gap to take in the NFC East. And if they're going to take it, they're really going to need some offensive firepower with no Cedric Wilson and no Amari Cooper right now. So, speaking about Baker Mayfield, I should have not talked about Dallas, but another thing I want to bring up that kind of happened is Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk came out with a couple of teams that he personally feels like that should be interested, or teams that should consider Baker Mayfield. And so he listed them out. I'll give you the teams, and then I went and did some of the research on the quarterbacks and kind of why, each team should either consider or should deny. Browns, Panthers, Steelers, Falcons, Seahawks, Giants, Saints, Lions, Texans, 49ers, and Dolphins. So I think there's one that I can easily, two probably I can easily eliminate. For me, is 49ers and Steelers. 49ers, even though if they get rid of Jimmy G, they spent 3 first-round picks in Trey Lance. So you're going to at least give them a season. So why trade for Baker Mayfield? Steelers. You signed Mitchell Trubisky to a 2-year, $14 million contract, and you got Kenny Pickett. And not only Kenny Pickett, you have Mason Rudolph, who for some reason Steelers, the organization, they love him. So I think Baker Mayfield would still be the third in that. I'd rather have probably Trubisky, and I'd probably rather have Kenny Pickett. So I don't think even if he goes to the Steelers, he wouldn't compete, and you're going to be paying him minimum half the salary. So for a third-string quarterback, $9 million is not in my comfort zone. So I would not be spending that if I were the Steelers. I guess we can kind of knock off the Seahawks too. They kind of came out and said that we don't have much interest in Baker Mayfield. So they're gonna rock with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Another one I find is my Giants. It seems like Brian Daboll is going all in with Daniel Jones, and they did sign Tyrod Taylor this offseason. So and we don't have the salary cap to be able to even trade for Baker Mayfield. We would have to give him. The Browns would have to take most of his salary, and the Browns aren't willing to. They're willing to take. Reported about half. So we don't even have $9 million to give up to trade for Baker Mayfield. So I think the Giants will be out just because of salary cap. And Texans is another one to me. They seem to be in on Davis Mills for at least this upcoming season and see what they have in second-year quarterback Davis Mills. If it's something that they can actually, build around, they extended Brandon Cooks. They drafted John Mechie when he is able to come back from the ACL surgery. And so they're slowly putting pieces around him. They're trying to rebuild the offensive line. They got Green with their first round pick. So, their second first round pick. Their first one, of course, was Derek Stingley. So they're trying to rebuild that team from the ground up, and maybe getting a quarterback in Davis Mills, where you can spend draft capital elsewhere, could really help them. But I think this is going to be the real testament to Davis Mills, is he's going to be the future of the Texans or not. And another obvious one is the Dolphins. They have Tua. If they want to trade for him, they don't have much draft capital after what they gave up to get Tyreek. And B, you're giving Tua all these weapons. Why now all of a sudden trade for Baker Mayfield and then piss your starting quarterback off? I wouldn't. The teams I would consider, though, will be the Lions, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. The Lions, Jared Goff is not your future. You're paying him right now his future. I think the Lions still need at least Jared Goff on their roster one more year before they're able to kind of cut him and take on some of that dead money. But right now, I think the dead money is still bananas. So right now, if you think Baker could be the future in a year, do you trade for him now? Have the $9 million sit on your salary cap. Maybe give him the Browns a 5th, 6th round pick, so you can secure him and then extend him if needed to, which is always interesting to me. The Saints, you don't know how Jameis Winston's going to come off his ACL, and they've already kind of told Taysom Hill that he's going to be a gadget tight end kind of player. And they have Trevor Siemian, so I just don't see them really wanting Baker. But if Jameis, a couple weeks in is not looking like the Jameis earlier, and not going to say early in his career, but earlier his Saints career, I could see them maybe trying to send a 5th rounder over there to the Browns if he's still available. Falcons, I don't think the Falcons would be smart to get him. They got Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. They're kind of going towards more of the new style quarterback. They kind of got Marcus Mariota to show him the ropes. Desmond Ridder is a very similar quarterback to Marcus Mariota. So I don't see Baker Mayfield going over there. I think Arthur Smith is trying to get a certain style of quarterback to fit his scheme, and then try to build around Desmond Ridder for the future. They spent a 3rd round pick on him, which could be a very, by the end, we don't know in the next 3 or 4 years if Desmond Ridder will be worth the 3rd rounder. He could be the face of the franchise, or he could just be a career backup. But it looks like, from the outside looking in, it looks like Arthur Smith kind of is going to have a type, if you want to say that, at quarterback, and they're trying to continue with that narrative. Last one is the Panthers. The Panthers were considering drafting Matt Corral in the 1st round. So they're very high on Matt Corral. Very high on Matt Corral. Do I see Matt Corral starting? No, I could see Sam Darnold starting. He shits the bed, wins 5, goes 0-5, 0-6. Boom, Matt Corral comes in. He can win the starting job either in training camp. I also believe that they're that high on Matt Corral. So I think the Panthers are trying to trade for Baker Mayfield to get rid of Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold could be in play for the trade because of the Browns' need, and the last team would be the Browns. Is Jacoby Brissett the answer? Truthfully, is Jacoby Brissett the answer? If anything happens to Deshaun Watson, do you trust Jacoby Brissett? So, could this be like a Baker Mayfield for Sam Darnold with, maybe a pick, maybe someone's going to take most of the salary? We don't know what's going to happen. I've heard the Panthers could be the team, and Sam Darnold's going to be involved in the trade somehow. But enough about Baker Mayfield, enough about the Seahawks. Just kind of get going into some of the other news that's kind of been breaking. RG3, Robert Griffin III, is working out again and is planning to try to make a comeback in 2022. He is ready to make a comeback in 2022. Could the Ravens go after him, a team that he recently played for? The same kind of style quarterback maybe they like is, something like Geno Smith. So could he go to Seattle? I don't think he's going to be picky. Whoever team gets him a workout, he'll probably sign with if he could. So, but RG3 is back, and he's trying to come back into the NFL. I think his days of analyzing college football could be over for the next couple of years. If he can get a couple years, coming back into the NFL would also be pretty cool. But Mike Thomas is another talking point. He just cannot get out of the news. If it, injuries and whatnot, for the last 2 years, he can just not stay out of the news. But Michael Thomas has not participated in the Saints offseason, but they are optimistic for him to be able to start week 1. So he could start. He definitely couldn't. I mean, he's missed 2 years at this point. I kind of forgot that Michael Thomas was a part of the Saints. I mean, they got Chris Olave. They got Jarvis Landry. If Michael Thomas comes in there, that's a solid 3, for the future, depending upon if they're able to keep Juice in there for a couple of years. If not, he's just a stopgap, and they know that Michael Thomas isn't ready. Moving on, Von Miller, and some of these are just going to be very short, and so I'm going to end with something big. But Von Miller came out publicly, said that he wants to finish his 6-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. So he's not planning on playing for the 2 years, and then I know there's some like opt-outs. He if the Buffalo will let him, he wants to finish his career and be able to play to the Buffalo Bills for the next 6 years, and that would get him until he's 39 years old. So definitely interesting. Von Miller for the last 2 years. One, he was hurt. In the beginning of this year, he wasn't particularly dominant with the Denver Broncos. He goes to the Los Angeles Rams, and he just rejuvenated his career and got a $120 million deal on his lap. So I think he would say that he's doing just fine for himself at this point. So he goes to Buffalo, signs for like a 6-year, or was it 6-year, 120 or something like that? Absolutely ridiculous. And he wants to finish that deal out. He wants to be able to play to the Buffalo Bills for the next 6 years and see if they can win a Super Bowl or 2. I mean, they are the betting odds to win it all. So let's see if Von Miller can be a key piece of that, and maybe not 1, but maybe 2 or 3 in that time span for sure. But a team that seems to be always betting odds, damn near close every year, but can never just pull it out. The Packers expect to have a more explosive A.J. Dillon in 2022. They're going to need him. They are going to need him. There's a massive void. I mean, they got Christian Watson. I mean, say what you want. I mean, I think he's probably the most talented wide receiver in that room. But that's not saying much. It's no Devontae Adams. They're going to be able to have to run the football to be effective. Run opens up the pass. They're not going to be able to pass. The pass will not be able to open up the run, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they're not going to be able to double team. If they're gonna be able to put 8 in the box. The defense are gonna be able to put 8 in the box. So Aaron Rodgers is great enough to where he knows where he's gonna make the right read and decision. It's just gonna be up to the receiver to run the right route and be able to catch the football, and have that connection with Rodgers. So it's gonna come down to the receivers: Sammy Watkins, Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, Christian Watson. I mean, it's going to come down to the receivers. It's going to come down to the receivers to make the plays, so they're gonna need an explosive AJ Dillon. If they get the AJ Dillon in the first half of last year, it's a wrap. AJ Dillon played way better in the middle and the back half of last year than earlier in the year. They need that AJ Dillon bad, because Aaron Jones can't do it all himself either. He can't be he's not. I don't think he's fit to be a 3-down back. He needs breaks. He needs time off. He needs AJ Dillon to be explosive and be able to come in on first down or second down, so he can play that third down and be the receiver on third down that everyone knows Aaron Jones is. So if the Packers want a successful offense, they need AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones to be effective. If not, I can see the Packers winning 10 games, not because one, Aaron Rodgers, and two, of that defense. Nothing else. More of a question. I saw something on Twitter the other day. Is one, the Ravens have a lot of hope for Rashad Bateman, and so the number 2 receiver, is this a question? Do you think James Poche is the number 2 receiver on the Ravens? They waived Miles Boykin this offseason, and they got rid of Hollywood Brown. So I think James Poche, they didn't sign anyone. James Poche, the number 2 receiver right now for Baltimore? You're giving Lamar Jackson, who they always talk about needs more weapons. He can't do anything by himself in the ground game, and then you trade away one of his receivers and you give him Rashad Bateman and James Poche. So I feel like they're trying to trade for, Terry McLaurin's off the board. I feel like they're trying to trade for either Deebo Samuel or DK Metcalf if they do become available. Maybe Dionate Johnson, slowly becomes available. I don't think Dionate Johnson will go inside the division. But, it's it. Or are they waiting for the Antonio Brown to come out of technically retirement at this point to come play receiver for them, because they are struggling at receiver. I'm interested to see if James Poche becomes the number 2, and what if he's not, then what is Baltimore gonna do about this depleted wide receiver room? Speaking about a receiver, the betting odds came out for Julio Jones and where he's gonna land. So a team that needs receivers, not just the Ravens, and we just recently talked about them, the Packers are the favorite to win over Julio Jones, and a close number 2 would be the most hated team, in my personal opinion, in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys are a close number 2 to land Julio Jones. I feel bad for the Titans. They gave up a second rounder for Julio Jones, and he barely was even on the field. And, if Julio Jones and Aaron Rodgers, maybe about 5 years ago, that sounds like a deadly combo. I don't know how that is going to be in 2022. I think for Aaron Rodgers' sake, I think he's kind of praying that Julio Jones comes. A big body outside receiver, I think it could be what they need. Julio Jones has been in the league for a long time. He can understand, the connection, him and Matt Ryan had this. Maybe he can kind of emulate that with Aaron Rodgers for a season and see how that works before maybe he goes off somewhere else or signs another 1-year deal with the Packers. I just don't want him to go to the Cowboys. I don't want Cowboys to have 3 good receivers. So I'd rather him go to Green Bay, and Green Bay only have 1 good receiver versus Dallas with 3. And the last thing I want to talk about, so I want to start off with something big, and then I want to end it off with something big. A very good receiver could be hitting the open market, who, if the Steelers won't pay him $20 million plus a year, I think there is a team that is willing to pay Dionate Johnson around $20 million plus. The Steelers came out today, and kind of breaking news at this point, if you haven't heard it. The Steelers came out and said that we will not be paying Dionate Johnson Terry McLaurin money. Terry McLaurin signed a 3-year, $71 million contract. So, I mean, it's around that $22.5 mil, $23 mil year. And the Steelers said they will not be giving Dionate Johnson Terry McLaurin money. If that happens, I mean, they technically let Juju walk in free agency. They could let Dionate Johnson walk in free agency, and then I think a close third person could be, Chase Claypool. I think there's teams out there that really like Chase Claypool. He's going into his 3rd year. Is Chase Claypool going to make that big step up as they think? They also let James Washington walk. They're known to just, at this point now, let wide receivers walk, and they feel like they can develop receivers, bring in a 2nd, 3rd round receiver and develop them. And they have been with James Washington, Dionate Johnson, and Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster, all kind of higher round picks that they have been able to get great use out of over the years. They're going to let them walk. Dionate Johnson is worth $20 mil. He is worth 20 plus mil. And there's a legit chance he walks away in free agency in 2023. So if there's a team, a.k.a. the Giants, that could cut someone, a.k.a. Kenny Golladay, to go get a great slot receiver, a.k.a. Dionate Johnson, I think there's teams that could be really interested into him. A team that I think is a sleeper, who has lackluster receivers but seems to always get it done. Not the obvious teams, the Packers, the Cowboys, I think, are always into receivers. Baltimore, someone that's a little bit I think the Patriots could be really interested in Dionate Johnson. I mean, they signed Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Kendrick Bourne, and someone else who's kind of irrelevant. And I can't think of the receiver that they signed. Nelson Aguilar. I mean, imagine if you're able to cut ties with either Kendrick Bourne or Nelson Aguilar, and you put Dionate Johnson in there to give Mac Jones a legit wide receiver 1. Really opens up your eyes and see what you're actually able to do on that offense, especially to see what you have with Mac Jones. But this video has been long enough. I think I gave you a bunch of news. I hope you guys really enjoyed. I just love talking about football, and sometimes my parents and family and friends get a little bit bored with this, so I'm glad I can able to express it to you guys. If you enjoyed the videos, please leave a like, subscribe to the content, and comment down if you enjoy all of these breaking news, daily news, Giants stuff, and fantasy football. Once we get closer to the season, we'll be doing gambling videos, and then once the season starts up, we'll be doing game film breakdowns. That's the stuff that I love. I love breaking down film. But like I said, if you enjoy the video, leave a like. And it's your boy CJ Sports, and I'm out. Peace, guys.